Well, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video, and this is going to be a really special video because this week, October 6th, is going to be the 60th anniversary of James Bond movies. It's so crazy to think that 10 years ago it was the 50th anniversary. You know, we had Skyfall, we had the London Olympics, like that was 10 years ago and it already flew by. So fast, what the hell. But yeah, I thought what better way to celebrate than to rank all 25 Bond films just for you. I've been a James Bond fan all my life. I've played the video games. My parents wouldn't let me get the collection, so what we would do is that I would, like every week or something, I would rent one Bond movie every week. Like one from Sean Connery, from Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton. I watched all of them like that. But then eventually I got the Bond 50 set right over there. A lot of this list will be about like my enjoyment of watching these films, like the one that's the most entertaining, the one that's sentimental, has sentimental value to me. I'm not really ranking this on like which is the better film, which one is better made or whatever. No, this is purely on entertainment value. I got myself dressed up. I got the poster in the back of Skyfall. Let's do this because I'm excited. So at number 25 we have Diamonds Are Forever. I never quite was able to get through this one. I always find myself kind of falling asleep in this one. It's definitely not the best. You can tell Sean Connery wasn't like passionate about making Bond in this movie. You can really tell in his acting in this movie, and that's really one of the major reasons it's not one of my favorites, my least favorite. So yeah, Diamonds Are Forever. Next up we have On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I do enjoy the story. I think there's a good concept there with Tracy. Yes, there's some really good like story aspects regarding her character and Bond and everything. But I just can't quite get attached to George Lazenby as Bond. There's just something about him, his portrayal. It doesn't feel Bond to me. I don't know. Next up we have You Only Live Twice. You know, same complaints as Diamonds Are Forever. You can tell Sean Connery isn't really passionate in this role. The theme song, the James Bond theme song, plays like 10,000 times in this movie. And the story, I don't know, it's not really gripping. It's just not very interesting to me, and there you go. Next up we have Dr. No, the movie that started it all on October 6th, 1962. It's an okay movie. It's tolerable. It is rather slow upon multiple rewatches. I don't go back to this one a lot. But it's really good to see some iconic moments with Sean Connery, especially his James Bond moment, like at the casino, like that. It's iconic. But other than that, it's not really the most rewatchable Bond movie in my opinion. And at number 21, we have Thunderball. Thunderball, another Sean Connery entry, the fourth one. I enjoy this one. It's okay. And a lot of it is due to the underwater scenes. Yeah, it was the first time we saw James Bond underwater. Cool scenes, but once again, not the most rewatchable one. That's why it's so low on the list. But it's okay. It's all right. So at number 20, we have The Man with the Golden Gun, Roger Moore's second movie as Bond. Very campy as hell. I can't quite, but it has some enjoyment to it. There's something. This is the thing about Roger Moore. His movies have some fun in it, and it makes you like, okay, I can rewatch it just for the fun factor of it. In terms of like as a movie, the Roger Moore, this is like my least favorite, I think. So at number 20 we have Moonraker. This one is so silly as hell. Like this is probably the silliest Roger Moore Bond movie, but what makes up for it is probably like the space scenes. It's the first time we see James Bond in space. It's campy as hell. Jaws is ridiculous. But there again, once again, the fun factor of the Roger Moore James Bond movies. There's just some. It's just funny. Like it's rewatchable in a way. I do like the Bond girl in this one too. She's fine. But yeah, Moonraker. At number 18 we have Live and Let Die. This one is kind of slow. But it's like probably. It's one of the more serious Roger Moore ones since it was his first one. The song by Paul McCartney and Wings. Phenomenal, one of the best James Bond theme songs out there. But yeah, and I mostly particularly love the third act of this movie. First, second act kind of struggling a bit, but the third act with the the snakes and everything, that was cool. Okay, I might get destroyed for this. Controversial opinion here, but I'm gonna put number 17 of View to a Kill. In terms of like the fun factor of Roger Moore, this is almost a comedy. This movie makes me laugh. It's hilarious. It's ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. Christopher Walken is the villain of this movie. There is this whole horse plot at the beginning of the movie, like injecting some things into horses, and then midway in the movie, it gets ditched by a I can't even explain it. It's confusing to me to this day. Not confusing, it's not memorable for me to remember it. And the Bond girl, I forgot her name, but she just screams James like 5,000 times in this movie. But yeah, View to a Kill, in terms of fun factor, entertainment value, that's why it's put at number 17. So at number 16, another controversial opinion. I might get destroyed for this, but I don't care. This channel is all about the truth and about how I feel, nothing fake. So number 16, Goldfinger. I recognize all the good aspects of Goldfinger. It is an okay film. It was the first movie that introduced the gadgets, all the tropes of James Bond that we see today. I recognize it for that, and it's a testament to like what this movie did. But in terms of rewatchability and the story, it's not like it doesn't grab me as much as the other movies I'm about to name. But Goldfinger is an alright movie. At number 15, we have Spectre, Daniel Craig's fourth movie. It's definitely a very stylish movie, I have to say. The cinematography by Hoyt van Hoytema, I like it in a way, but it's very it feels very dusty. It's a very dusty type of movie. I feel like in this story, they really didn't know what to do with the character of Bond. They tried to kind of like develop it more into his past, because that's what they did in Skyfall, and then they wanted to repeat the same thing but dig a little deeper into his past, and then somehow they wanted to connect all the previous movies to one villain, and that was just so convenient in a way. It was very lazy, but in the end, I love the filmmaking aspect. Sam Mendes directed the shit out of this movie. You know, the cinematography is beautiful but very dusty, and costumes are amazing in this movie. But you know, in terms of like Bond as a character, his journey, not really it for me. So at number 14, we have Quantum of Solace. I think this is a very underrated movie. I've rewatched this movie every time I need to do a rewatch of Daniel Craig. You know, I always watch it. I know I don't skip it because I thought it was bad before, but after multiple rewatches, this movie is actually growing on me. I definitely do recognize the flaws, obviously, but it's growing on me because in a way it's doing what Spectre couldn't do. You can tell there is a journey for Bond's character in this, and I think what makes me appreciate this movie is the Vesper storyline. There is crumbles of Vesper still throughout this movie, and he's still dealing with trying to move on from her, and this arc from him still angry about what she did in the last movie, all the way to the end where he's finally able to let go. That is what makes this movie beautiful to me. And the other stuff with the villain and the plot with the oil, not really my cup of tea. You know, everything with Vesper and Mathis in this movie too. He's helping him try to move on and to forgive her. Like, all that stuff with Vesper is really what makes this movie engaging. So at number 13, we have The Spy Who Loved Me. Like, definitely one of the best Roger Moore movies. Earlier I mentioned all the Roger Moore camp movies. The Spy Who Loved Me, in my opinion, is one of the more serious Roger Moore ones. Jaws is iconic in this one. Roger Moore, Barbara Bach as the Bond girl, amazing. Definitely nice to see like Bond's equal in a way, and Roger Moore is just fantastic in this movie. So at number 12, controversial opinion once again, because that's who I am. I'm controversial. I say things that nobody else thinks, and that's what it is. That's who I am. Fuck you. But yeah, so at number 12, Die Another Day. Now, let me explain to you why Die Another Day is higher than all the other movies that I just named. Because You guys seem to think that Die Another Day is the worst ever. But Die Another Day was actually the first Bond movie I ever watched. I'm a late 90s boy. The next Bond movie that came out was Die Another Day, 2002. So around that time, that's when I saw James Bond for the first time. Pierce Brosnan is the first Bond that I ever saw. And so in a way, this movie has a special place in my heart because it was my introduction to Bond. All the gadgets, the cars, the mission, the action, like this was the shit when I was a child. But as an adult, I ended up watching more movies, and upon rewatch, this isn't a great film, but it's definitely damn hilarious. There's just some very silly aspects in this movie I can't get over. I always laugh at these moments. All the cheesy innuendos in this movie. Come on, man. It's so bad, but it's so good at the same time. So, Die Another Day. There you go. So at number 11, we have The Living Daylights. Timothy Dalton's first Bond movie. I actually like Timothy Dalton. He's probably my third favorite Bond actor, I think, next to Daniel Craig and Pierce Brosnan. But Timothy Dalton is the shit. He definitely gave a new touch to Bond, a more serious Bond, a more cold-hearted Bond. It was the first cold-hearted Bond we ever saw. I mean, Sean Connery was cold-hearted too, but I mean, I think Timothy Dalton took it to another level, and I think there were so many shots in this movie where it would just focus on his face, and you could see emotion through Bond's eyes. And I know Bond is not a character where you're supposed to see emotion, but it was definitely nice to see a new aspect of Bond, a more where you can see more of his emotion. So at number 11 we have Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan's second movie as Bond. I kind of enjoy this movie. This movie is really fun. The BMW car, Michelle Yeoh as Waylon. Yes, that is her name. Michelle Yeoh. She is the shit in this movie. This is this iconic Michelle Yeoh performance. She's amazing. The gadgets are fun. There's the watch, the remote control car chase scene. That's some iconic stuff. Sheryl Crow's amazing theme song. This is one of the best Bond theme songs out there. Tomorrow Never Dies is not the perfect movie, but definitely one of the more fun ones. And at number 9 we have The World's Not Enough, Pierce Brosnan's third Bond movie. I enjoy this one as well. I think it was definitely a really cool aspect they did here where the Bond girl is actually the villain, played by Sophie Marceau. She's amazing as Elektra King. A nice Bond girl character that challenges Bond. The theme song by Garbage, that's one of the better Bond theme songs out there. And it actually has one of the better, if not one of the best, opening sequences. But yeah, like that whole scene at the office, and then he comes back to MI6, and then the boat chase, and then the hot air balloon, and then he falls, and then the theme song starts. It's so good. And at number 8 we have Octopussy. This one it's a mix of the fun, campy Roger Moore vibes, but also serious tone. I do definitely love the plot with the Fabergé egg. And there's this amazing sequence where he's on this vehicle and running down the street, and he's throwing the money into the crowd just to create a distraction. That's just some fun stuff. And also the theme song by Rita Coolidge, I think. Oh, I love that theme song. Some of you might think it's cheesy with the saxophone, but I love it. And at number 7, we have From Russia with Love. Now, this is my favorite Sean Connery Bond. A lot of you will think it's Goldfinger, but to me, it's From Russia with Love. There is something so kind of like old school about. I mean, yeah, there are old movies, but this was kind of before the whole gadget and cars era. I mean, there are some gadgets in this movie, but they're very much low key in this movie. It's a very simple storyline, but it's the kind of storyline that kind of hooks me. I'm very interested in the story whenever I watch this movie. And one of the better scenes in this movie is the train fight scene. Wow, I saw that movie when I was a kid, and I loved it ever since. I always loved that sequence, the fight between Bond and forgot his name, but it's an amazing sequence. Check out From Russia with Love. And at number 6 we have For Your Eyes Only. Now, For Your Eyes Only is personally my favorite James Bond movie with Roger Moore. The theme song by Sheena Easton, one of the best Bond theme songs out there. But this is one of the more serious Bond movies with Roger Moore. They tried to ditch the whole campiness from Moonraker. You know, it was a very simple storyline, kind of like they had a little MacGuffin in there, and they have to try to retrieve it. It was very simple, and I definitely love the Bond girl, played by Carole Bouquet. She plays Melina Havelock, that's her name, but she's one of the better ones out there. So for her eyes only. And at number 5 we have License to Kill, Timothy Dalton's second and last Bond film. This is one of the more brutal, more serious Bond films. You know, this movie had dealt with drugs, manufacturing. Like it was a very adult James Bond movie with dealing with themes that were like, whoa, like you just got off the Roger Moore era and you shoot us with this. Honestly, the brutal aspect, the more violent aspect of this movie really like makes this movie stand out from the rest of the Bonds, and it's what I appreciate about this movie. And Timothy Dalton once again showing an incredible performance as Bond, showing more emotion. And you know, before Daniel Craig there was Timothy Dalton, I feel, when it comes to an emotional Bond. So yeah, Timothy Dalton, License to Kill, the villain, I forgot his name. I can't remember some of these names, but and the Bond girl too, she's great too. So at number 4 we have No Time to Die. Another controversial opinion. Some of you did not like the ending to this movie, but to me it's the perfect ending to Craig's Bond. Now, would I say that this type of ending would work for another Bond? No. But for Daniel Craig, this is perfect. Daniel Craig was set up as the more emotional, vulnerable Bond, the most actually. To see him go off like this, to have a child and die, it seemed very fitting. Let's not forget how beautiful this movie looks. The cinematography by Linus Sandgren, oh my god, every shot is perfection in No Time to Die. It's the colors, the lighting, it's just perfect. It's a beautiful looking movie. And my only flaw with this movie is basically the villains. So Safin and the scientist guy, Oberchev. When I rewatch this movie, I'm not really into the villains, but seeing Bond's journey, his last mission, it's an emotional experience. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually teared up in the theater when I saw this for the first time during the ending. I was like thinking, wow, it's been like 13, 14, 15 years that I've been watching Daniel Craig as Bond, and it's all coming to an end, and seeing that ending is just like, it hit me in a way. So No Time to Die, number 4. So at number 3 we have Skyfall right there. Skyfall it was the 50th anniversary of Bond. It was the perfect like kind of like celebration type of movie, like celebrating the legacy of Bond. And I also love that this movie dealt with themes such as, oh, do we need agents in this world? Do we need people like Bond? And this movie kind of like goes on this journey of Bond trying to prove that yes, we do need agents. Like it's trying to prove that we still need Bond in this day. And you know, the struggle that he was going through with Ray Fiennes' character, and the cinematography by Roger Deakins, outstanding. This is another beautiful one of, if not, yeah, Skyfall is the most beautiful looking Bond movie. No Time to Die is next, but Skyfall, the cinematography by Roger Deakins, outstanding. If not, probably one of the best looking movies of all time. I'm not gonna lie, Skyfall is beautiful. It's beautiful. So at number 2 we have GoldenEye. This movie is filled with nostalgia. Of course, the N64 game. Just seeing Pierce Brosnan's first time as James Bond, iconic stuff. I remember the day that I went to go rent this with my parents, and I got home and I was so excited to watch GoldenEye because I've never seen it before. Because like I said, The Diner of the Day was my first Bond movie, but seeing GoldenEye after that was like so iconic. And growing up and after multiple rewatches, I'm like, wow, this is such an amazing film, and Pierce Brosnan is amazing as Bond. He's probably my second favorite as Bond. But yeah, like GoldenEye just had a very like straightforward plot. The actors are incredible. Martin Campbell directed the shit out of this movie, and I hope he directs the new Bond with the new actor, whoever it is. I hope Martin Campbell comes back because he's an amazing director. This was a perfect introduction to Pierce Brosnan's Bond. And at number 1 we have Casino Royale. Maybe you already guessed it by now because it's so high up on my top 30 movies of all time. If you watch that, you go watch my top 30 movies of all time video. It's a good time. Casino Royale is the greatest James Bond movie of all time. It's a perfect movie. It's almost like the first movie where you get to see what's happening in James Bond's mind. Everything he does, every little action he does, you get a sense of how his mind works. And this is a testament to the script. They did something completely different than any other James Bond. It was like, you're like, whoa, this is so different, but also so good, and this is exactly what we needed for a 21st century Bond. The poker scenes are amazing. Eva Green is amazing as Vesper. Vesper is also one of the driving points of this movie. She's the reason that we get to see this more emotional side of Bond. You know, as a Bond fan in 2006, seeing this was so different than any of the other previous movies where we finally get to see a more emotional Bond. It's no surprise that this is also almost everybody's favorite Bond movie because of that aspect of Vesper and the emotional side of Bond. So Casino Royale is a masterpiece and the greatest James Bond movie ever. And whoever is gonna take up the mantle as Bond has some big shoes to fill, I have to say. But there you have it. So that's my list. That's my list of all 25 movies, all 25 Bond movies ranked. This is the 68th anniversary. I can't believe it. This is amazing. I can't wait to see what they do next with this franchise. This is a great video. I love this. I'm glad I decided to do this video. Tell me some of your favorite Bond movies. If you want to do a ranking in the comments, go ahead. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.